Hey, welcome back to the show. Ninjas is funny. Ninjas are funny. So all of a sudden now we got all of these Howard Bison fans. Right. So let me explain to you, if you're listening to the Doug Stewart Show right now, let me explain to you, and you've never heard of me before. I went to South Carolina State College in the MEAC conference, which is the same conference as Howard, who got the biggest upset victory in college football history last weekend. Let me try to put it in terms of you so you'll understand. Howard football is the equivalent to the Cleveland Browns in the NFL. Right. That's what Howard football is. Like, they ain't never been good from, I'm going to say, at least the last 25 years. I graduated college in 1993. So when I was a freshman in college, they weren't hitting on nothing. As a matter of fact, we actually got our coach back, Coach Willie Jeffries, who left South Carolina State, went to Howard, coached there for a couple of years. I think they were winning a couple of games then. But then he came back to South Carolina State when I got there in 89. And so from 89 till this year, Howard ain't never won no damn football games. Now I got my homeboys that attended Howard calling me talking about getting tickets. We actually play them. This will tell you how bad they are. We actually play Howard for homecoming this year. And so my homeboys that never said a peep about Howard football for the last 25 years, all of a sudden they want to come when Howard plays state for homecoming. Man, GTFOH. GTFOH. Y'all ain't hitting on nothing, man. Damn, lucky win. Shouts out Ball Award to the Clemson Tigers, man. Tough fought game against Auburn. Auburn ain't no punk. That team defensively looked like it's going to be a good football team this year, man. They just played against a better team at home in the Clemson Tigers. Clemson beat them 14-6. Kelly Bryant, first year starter for Clemson, man. He had four of the Tigers, or Austin Bryant, had four of the Tigers' 11 sacks in a 14-6 victory, once again over number 13 Auburn on Saturday night. Kelly Bryant went down with an apparent head injury, got drove into the ground, and came back into the game past the concussion protocol, I guess, came back into the game and played very well. I said this on social media, man. If you follow me on social media, that defensive line, they got a bunch of animals on that defensive line. You know about the Wilkins kid, the Farrell kid at defensive end, but the other two players on that front four in the defensive line, these experts are saying that all of these guys are going to be high draft picks in the NFL when they go. And, man, 11 sacks against Auburn this past weekend. They look phenomenal. They reminded me, I mentioned it on social media, like just off the top of my head, the best defensive line tandems, group of players that I've ever seen that I can remember right now off the top of my head was at Georgia when they had Marcus Stroud and they had Richard Seymour. And you know, Stroud played for many years for the Buffalo Bills, and Richard Seymour played for many years for the Patriots. So when they had Stroud and Seymour, and if you go way back to like early 90s, maybe mid-90s, I can't remember exactly when Alabama had Eric Curry and John Copeland, oh my gosh, I believe they won a national championship that year as well, their last year there. Man, they were unblockable. So those tandems, man, Clemson got the ability, that those guys they got on that defensive line, everybody agrees they're the best defensive line in the country. They are really going to make it hard for quarterbacks this year in college football. Like, I easily could see Clemson being in a position to be in one of these Final Four spots in the college football playoffs at the end of the year. As I mentioned earlier, Lamar Action Jackson has another huge day. No. Lamar Jackson accounted for 525 total yards and 6 touchdowns to help number 17 Louisville pull away late and beat North Carolina 47-35 on Saturday, giving him more than 1,000 yards of total offense in 2 games. Man, GTFOH. Wow. So he threw for 393 yards and 3 scores while also running for 132 yards and 3 touchdowns as well. He had 485 total yards in last week's win against Purdue, with 107 of those coming on the ground. Right now, he's just like he was last year, in the driver's seat for this Heisman Trophy. It's only 2 weeks. It is only 2 weeks. But all these other cats that they're trying to put into the conversation, man, they fail in comparison. Sam Darnold, even though they won this weekend, he threw a couple more picks. Who else they talk about? Baker's Mayfield for Oklahoma. He had a good game. He do look legit. I got to give it to him. He might be a darn menace to society off the field. But he looked damn good against Ohio State this past weekend. So shouts out to Lamar Jackson, though, back to him, man, and getting it done. As they dominate, they put up 47 points against North Carolina. The defense is going to be a problem. And the problem with Louisville is they just don't have enough total team talent to really vie for a national championship, I don't think. Just hopefully Lamar Jackson can keep it on the road and doesn't kind of falter, and that team doesn't falter around him at the ending part of the year like they did last year. As I just mentioned, Baker Mayfield, man, for Oklahoma, he threw 3 touchdown passes as they beat Ohio State 31-16 in convincing fashion. It was kind of like a payback from what happened last year in Norman. J.T. Barrett looked real suspect. I mean, that's putting it lightly. $19 for 35, 183 yards. Real tough day for him. I don't know who they got at backup, man. I don't know who's behind him right now. 3-year captain for Ohio State. The players love him. The team loves him, man. But he just can't make the throws consistently. Like, he'll have a big game, and then the next game he'll have a game like he did this past weekend. So, Oklahoma, man, a big win for them. Obviously, the number 5 team in the country, new head coach. Lincoln Riley is their new head coach now. Bob Stoops gone. So, big win for them. And also, man, the Georgia Bulldogs, they outslugged Notre Dame this past weekend in South Bend. Yeah, Georgia beat Notre Dame 20-19. Freshman quarterback Jake Fromm was filling in for injured Jacob Eason and making his first career start. You know, Eason got hurt after the game started last week in week 1. Georgia was flagged 12 times for 127 yards. Notre Dame was hit with 8 flags as well for 63. So a real sloppy game for both teams this past weekend in South Bend. Georgia sold, and if you watch this game on TV, there was definitely a Georgia presence as Georgia sold 8,000 tickets for the game, and there was easily twice that many wearing red and black in the stands. So Georgia really showed up and showed out for the Bulldogs this weekend. Good win for them as they come back, or they're now undefeated after 2 games, 2-0. That's big. That's big. I don't care what it is. Notre Dame may end up being a crappy team at the end of the day, but you go on the road and beat Notre Dame at South Bend, that's a big-ass win. So shouts out to the Georgia Bulldogs. Good win for them. A couple other scores. Southern Cal beat up on Stanford 42-24. A lot of people picked Stanford to win that game, so that was somewhat of a surprise. It's kind of like an upset. So Southern Cal, 42-24, dominate Stanford, as well as a big win for James Franklin and the Penn State Nittany Lions as they beat up on in-state. I guess you would call them a rival. 33-14. James Franklin says it wasn't a rival. You talk about throwing some real shade. James Franklin compared this win for them, the equivalent to like them beating Akron. I don't even have the quote in front of me. I should have had it in front of me. Basically, he says when Pitt beat them last year, it was the big thing. It was this incredible thing. And, you know, back to life, back to reality, Penn State is a much better football program than Pitt. And Pitt really never has in my lifetime, been a great football program. Even when they had Dan Marino, they had the defensive tackle or defensive end. What was his name? Hugh Green. You remember Hugh Green? Hugh Green was up for the Heisman Trophy. He played for Pitt. I don't remember really the Dorsett days, Tony Dorsett, when he played for Pitt. So Pitt never really make a lot of noise. He's right. I mean, Penn State's always in the conversation as far as national titles. Pitt, not so much. So James Franklin, it was kind of below the belt, but it actually was true. So big win for them. Michigan handled Cincinnati 36-14. Their defense, once again, for the second week in a row, looks like they're real men out there. Offense, they still, Cincinnati, you're supposed to put up a lot of points against Cincinnati. So they get a win. They're undefeated on the year, 2-0, and number 8 in the country. And lastly, man, y'all saw what happened as Fresno State traveled across country, man, to take on Alabama in Tuscaloosa, 41-10. Jalen Hurts, another fantastic game for him. Set the tone early for this game. He ran for 154 yards and 2 touchdowns and passed for a third score in number 1 Alabama's 41-10 victory Saturday against Fresno State. Getting the Tide rolling with a 55-yard touchdown run 2 plays into the game. He completed 14 of 18 passes for 128 yards. And ain't nobody going to beat Alabama, I don't think. Sorry. If somebody beats Alabama, it'll be an upset. Let's just put it like that. Man, they so fast on defense. They are so fast on defense, man. Like, and this is nothing new. They get 5-star players each and every year. They always top in the nation in recruiting. So, I mean, they just fast. Their team speed on both sides of the ball really is just phenomenal. All of the guys on their offensive and defensive lines, man, are just men amongst boys out there. Athletic as well, pulling guards. I mean, this is real ugly to watch, man. It's real ugly to watch if you're a fan of another team. All right, when we get back, man, we'll read some messages in the chat. We'll wrap up today's show. Don't go away. The Doug Stewart Show.
Man, I got this fire, burn the holes all in my soul, and I can feel it. I'm afraid I'm gonna lose control.